Okay, so this is quite hilarious. We've got the quote unquote artist here, family ties, and so it's literally just people smoking marijuana and clearly being under the influence of narcotics while they're working with machinery and just more marijuana. And then you get the woman in the same position as the man, right? Like a big feminist thing. Ergo, marijuana is part of the what I'll just call the Goldstein effect. And then this second one right here, queer joy in community. So I think this is like the marijuana turned it into a gay. And then of course more diversity within the diversity. And then a bong and a joint and a bunch of white and probably Jewish people as well at some event with a cross. So you get a lot of overlap of cultural effects as well. And so nothing quite says the subversion quite like all this stuff is happening through academia and universities. There was a CEO meeting up here a while ago, like 30, 40 minutes ago. And there was at least 3 trannies and a black and, and a white guy, a fat white liberal. And I'm like, just thinking to myself that these are the social engineers that are shifting us towards the moral decline, degeneracy, etc. And sure enough, a dude's probably sucked like 30 dicks for crack. And this is somehow being elevated. Like this is one of the many examples of proof that I'm right about all the things that I say. And the weed pushers on the internet who attempt to lie and subvert me clearly are full of shit. And that's really curious because there's another poster downstairs where it's got a cultural specific counseling, which goes into the whole white linguistic supremacy thing and cultural fluency. And I found that really hilarious because it's rooted in the same sort of school of thought that, psychiatry and psychology is white supremacy because it came from Western civilization. So even though it is white in origin, they have to still it and transform it to be like black and brown and gay. It's kind of like that Mexican girl with the photos there about how the marijuana turned her gay and it was pushed on her by whites and white Jews. And somehow that's pro-black. It's such a crossover, it's insane. Oh yeah, here's the fat white liberal guy. So it's curious to observe, identify, witness all these vectors and mechanisms of manipulation at play. And it makes me question how are they able to strategically insert themselves into such positions of power and influence that they gain control over society to the point that they can completely transform cultures, communities, societies, etc. Obviously, moral boundaries did not stop them. Right? The considerations of the long-term implications of their actions were not with my community in mind. It was more of they just want to transform the world as they see fit. It's really, really curious to me. And this is a common theme across all the campuses that I've been to, including Liberty University, which is a Christian university, allegedly, or authentically, given that Christianity is just another tool for, social engineering, social manipulation, globalism, etc. But here it is. Here we have the trifecta. Safe and culturally responsive counseling services with the black face or dark skin. COVID, Elections. So after the weed turned them gay, they turned black and had COVID and had to vote. So just some thoughts on that experience. The photos there, the people in the photos, specifically the brown and Hispanic people, they definitely fit the category of genetically inferior and susceptible to demographic reduction and replacement with marijuana policies. They don't have the mental capacity, the intellectual capacity to even question the motives of marijuana pushers and marijuana legalization. The fat white liberal guy who clearly has a lot of power and influence within the university's faculty hierarchy, that would be Whitey Weed Pusher. And it's not just weed that he's pushing, it's a Trojan horse for gay agendas and, racial integration, race mixing, diversity, that sort of thing. So marijuana is another social control mechanism and another social engineering tool and stuff like that. Which is really curious because there's a whole Darwinistic application in the lens of analysis here, where if these people weren't so susceptible to being reduced and replaced without even noticing or being aware of what's happening, then they never would have allowed, Whitey Weed Pusher and Goldstein Weed Pusher to push marijuana on them in the first place, let alone legalize it and, subvert and shift government and political structures and policies and things like that. And another curious observation is I had the thought of, if I could question whoever approved those photos to come up and whoever took the photos, don't you care in the slightest about the harms you're causing with marijuana, about the suicides, the homicides, the rapes, the vehicular fatalities, etc.? Now, Whitey Weed Pusher will say, fuck no, fuck you, what the fuck, blah, blah, blah. He won't give a shit. It's just how white people are. But the brown ones, the Mexicans in those photos, I don't think they have the cognitive ability to even recognize what's happening, right? If I were to ask them, they would be more incompetence than misconduct, less deliberate, and more the plaything of the forces acting upon them, which would be the white guy, a Whitey Weed Pusher liberal. But the conservatives are the same thing. Politics are just masks that people wear to, implement agendas and things like that and subvert ideology. And you see a lot of ideological conflicts within ethnic groups that really enhance that point. So that's definitely interesting as well. That I'm drawing a distinction between the white marijuana pusher not caring at all about the harms they cause with suicides, homicides, increase of overdose deaths, homelessness, vehicular fatalities, cannabis-facilitated sexual assaults, and the brown people just not even being aware of the decades and decades and centuries of data showing the connection between cannabis and psychosis. What really proves the point that Whitey doesn't give a shit about the harms he's causing his own people, white people, with the weed push, is the 3 men who were dressed as women in that CEO's meeting with the white weed pusher liberal. If Whitey gave a shit about his own people, he wouldn't push weed because he could see that it's causing that.